Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Once again, welcome to Inspired AI's episode number 8, Innovation, AI and Innovation, Startups, Scale-Ups, and Unicorns. A bit about myself before I go any further. I will be your moderator for this session. My name is Alexandra Belikova. I'm the Partnerships and Events Lead for Startup Amsterdam, which is an initiative from the Municipality of Amsterdam. And our aim is to stimulate and accelerate Amsterdam's tech and entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is why for the last 3 years, we've been a proud supporter and partner host city of World Summit AI and World AI Week. We're bummed, of course, that we can't host you all in our wonderful city physically this year, but we're happy that we can connect with you in the global AI community virtually and keeping a physical edition next year. Now, this is a very special part of this episode, a Cybershark pitch competition. If you will, a bit of a culmination, because all of the startups that are finalists today have already spoken in Inspired AI's episodes 1 through 7. So these were the 5 early stage AI startups that were shortlisted by Inspired Minds Advisory Board and shareholders to pitch their solutions now to our panel of judges, from investors. Now, actually, speaking of which, time for them to introduce themselves. And I would like to first call Matthew Price on stage to share his video and audio and introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Alexandra. It's a real privilege to be here. My name is Matt, and I'm part of the team that runs the Oracle for Startups program. We have a really simple aim, is to help startups to scale all across the world. We do that through a couple of things. One is helping to unlock great value through cloud technology and encourage and make it easy and commercially very attractive for startups and early stage businesses to be using world-class technology. Then we think about how we can add value by increasing promotion and using our media, marketing, PR resources to do some really, really good for startups and connecting them to enterprise opportunities.
Thank you, Matthew. Moving on to Stephanie Opdam from Notion.
Hi, everyone. Great to see y'all. So yeah, I'm Stephanie, born in the Netherlands, moved to London in 2014, worked in VC for the last 5.5 years now, specifically B2B software investing. And so joined Notion Capital 12 years ago, and we're very much focused on the kind of Series A and B stages, investing in B2B software companies across Europe, category leading startups we're looking for. We've made over 70 investments to date, and many of which actually use AI as part of their product offering. So I'm very excited to hear more about the pitches today and also hear about the big visions of the founders that I'm looking forward to.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our next juror is Jack Wang from Keen Venture Partners. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. Just a quick intro about myself and the fund. So I'm a techie, used to be a software engineer for a couple of years in product management as well, mostly working in sort of Australian fintech. Dabble a little bit on sort of online lending platforms, high frequency trading as well. Spent a couple of years at Amazon as well in Seattle looking at marketplaces for them. And then I work for Keen Venture Partners now, and we're a Series A and B generic fund, actually, investing across over Europe to cybersecurity, machine learning, cloud infrastructure, and also consumer things. So that's it.
Thank you, Jack. And finally, last but not least, we have Ravit Warsha from Kamet Ventures.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So my name is Ravit Warsha, and I'm a partner at Kamet Ventures. I'm leading its healthcare innovation activities out of Tel Aviv, Israel. Kamet is a venture builder, a mix of a VC and an incubator, started in 2016 with funding from AXA Insurance. And we're focused on creating breakthrough companies that will redefine the sectors of insurtech and health tech. So we're quite focused. We're a global company with offices in Paris, London, and Tel Aviv, and 19 portfolio companies as of today. And my personal background, I'm a techie as well. So I did a few years of R&D and project and product and biz dev and so on, being an entrepreneur. Served a few years in the Israeli Ministry of Health, and now back to the industry as an investor, you may say.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ravit. Now, before we move on to the actual pitches, everyone, I would like to tell you a bit how the judges are going to be making their decisions. So what the startups have actually been asked to prepare in their pitch. They need to answer the questions of who they are and what they are doing in the market that they operate in, what's the current problem versus how their AI-based solution will impact the market in the next 18 months, and how is their AI element changing the game. So each startup will have 5 minutes to pitch, then it'll be followed by a Q&A with the jury, and then once the fifth startup finishes their pitch, the jury will move on to deliberation, where we can then take questions from the audience. So without further ado, please welcome our very first pitcher, Wim Kees Janssen from Syntho.
Thanks. Welcome. Ready to start?
Yes, go ahead.
AI. This was the promise of last decade for innovation. Now, almost in 2021, we see only a part of this promise realized. Why has AI not fully delivered yet? And one key reason is privacy. And privacy is not only the heart of our free society, it also affects companies. It can damage their reputation, clients can leave, and causes penalties. Yes, privacy hinders data-driven innovation. For example, data-driven innovation with AI. It is simple. Without data, one cannot realize AI. How many of the AI startups require access to sensitive data? And we offer a solution to this dilemma. We make sure that your AI developer and your compliance officer will become best friends. Now, classic anonymization techniques like pseudonymization, generalization, or data deletion offer no solution, since they cannot fully mitigate privacy risks and destroy your data. And to get to our solution, I would like to ask you this question. Which of these three images do you think is fake? They're all fake. The faces you see here do not exist in the real world. These are synthetic images generated by artificial intelligence. And what if we could apply this technique on structured data sets? And this is exactly what we do at Syntho. Our software is trained on the original data and generates a completely new and anonymous synthetic data set. What makes us unique? We apply AI to capture the value of the original data to generate highly realistic synthetic data. This means our solution is able to preserve the structure and properties of the original data set. Consequently, our synthetic data is highly realistic and can be used as if it is real data, but without the privacy risks. And the key question, how good is our data quality? And we offer a quality report for every generated synthetic data set to demonstrate this. So let's take a look what's in this report. Distributions give insights in the frequency of a certain data record for a given category or value. And as can be seen here in the following graph, the distributions for the original data in gray and the synthetic data in blue are nearly identical. And this counts for all variables in your data set. And the same counts for the correlations. Here we see that the correlation matrix for the synthetic data is nearly identical to the one for the original data. And also with univariate distributions, we see similar results. And the ultimate test is to train an AI or machine learning model, both on the original data and the synthetic data, and compare the outcomes. And even in this ultimate test, we observe similar results. And this shows that synthetic data retains statistical properties to such an extent that even in machine learning tasks, it provides an alternative for using original sensitive data. And therefore, we always ask this question. Why use real data when you can use synthetic data? And this is our answer. First, you can minimize personal data. and thereby reduce, for example, data breaches. Second, you can unlock personal data that was restricted due to privacy. And to summarize, synthetic data by Syntho allows you to build a strong foundation to boost data-driven innovation with less risk, more data, and faster data access. And this unlocks a wide variety of use cases. But let me illustrate data sharing. Highly sensitive client data is typically collected by organizations and cannot simply be shared with third parties that, for example, would like to develop AI models. Consequently, those organizations cannot realize data-driven innovation with, in this case, applied AI. And our solution, share this data in synthetic form to guarantee both the data quality and the privacy protection. And the benefits for the organizations: less risk, more data, and faster data access. After our visit, those organizations can test, develop, and innovate based on synthetic data. And now those organizations will be able to realize data-driven innovation by using AI, for example, and train them on synthetic data as alternative to using original sensitive data. And I see you're all thinking, can we already use this? Yes, our Syntho engine works. We have paid customers and on enterprise level, and we started in an incubator program, all realized in a few months with no need for external resources. And our next step is to launch a software as a service solution so that everyone can benefit from the added value of synthetic data anywhere, anytime. So why use real data when you can use synthetic data? We are Syntho, and we solve your privacy dilemma. So I think it's now time for Q&A.
Thank you, Wim Kees. Yes, indeed. Stephanie has the first question, I guess.
Thank you, Wim Kees. I loved your opening of your pitch. Why has AI not fully delivered its potential yet? And I think you addressed that really well. So thank you so much for that. One of the questions I had already is, I've heard of multiple synthetic data generating companies. We ourselves actually at Notion Hazy, which you might have come across, but there's mostly AI. What are you doing different?
I think what we are doing different is we are going to focus on a specific sector. In this case, more the consulting sector. We really want to make sure that we have an optimized solution for those parties, mainly because we see that there's a high frequency of working with sensitive data, combined with the fact that they always face that data sharing challenge. So that's really the focus, what we are going to aim for.
Thank you.
Can I jump in with a question, Wim? Thank you for that. Is there a particular industry or vertical that you are targeting in particular?
Yeah, so that was basically my answer on the previous question. So we are really going to target the consulting area.
Within a particular industry vertical or consulting across the piece?
Yeah, they're typically the consulting practices that focus on either realizing data-driven innovation, so AI consulting practices. Then you have the privacy practices, so those are practices that focusing on data security, data privacy, and become compliance. Those are going to be the main the focus points.
Okay, thank you.
Jack?
Yes, just a quick question around your technology. Traditionally, I think some of the synthetic data companies, as Stephanie mentioned rightfully, one of the features they have is that they're able to amplify the lesser known, I guess, data areas to train models on. What I mean is that, for example, if you're listen, this, again, difference between cross-tab data and image data, but if you're an automatic driving car, you train images on people getting hit by bicycles, right, for example. And you don't have that many data images of people getting hit by bicycles because you don't want that many people hit by bicycles. So you create fake images, fake videos, and sort of go for it and train the model so that when the wider neural network sees that sort of type of image, it has enough data points to recognize it. Do you have a feature like that where you can amplify sort of trends to train a model on to then use that particular submodel in the wider network?
Yeah. So I think what I pitched in my 5 minutes was really the generating a data twin. So an exact copy in terms of patterns,
Exactly.
relations, and statistics. But indeed, there are use cases where you, for example, want to increase a certain variable or category in your synthetic data. And that can be either for specific AI or machine learning training purposes. So, for example, the use case that you mentioned, but it can also be that there's a certain bias in the data set. So let's say there are 70% males compared to females, and you want to get that bias away by generating extra synthetic females. So that's an additional use case that can be covered as well. And yeah, we have also that use case that we cover.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Final question from Ravit.
So I think Alexandra is gone. There's some technical issue maybe. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead with the question then. So I wanted to ask, I like to focus on the consulting use case, and I wanted to ask what's the size of this market specifically for you? And the second question, maybe the second half, is how scalable your solution is. So once you are done with this market, what are your next steps in terms of vision for your product?
Yeah. So I think in terms of scalability, what we really see that in this market, consulting practices really face those data sharing use cases all the time. Every time they have a new assignment, they have that data sharing challenge. So that's, I think, one of the engine of growth that we really aim for there, compared to directly targeting organizations. Because I think what we experience in directly targeting organizations is that typically they have use cases in data sharing, but that there's like 1, 2, 3, or 4. And with consulting practices, you have basically one for every project they do. And typically those organizations do quite a lot of projects if they're successful, of course. So I think that's the engine of growth. In terms of market size, we have it now, at least that's the target market that we go for, sized at 219 million. That's at this moment. That's basically done on predicting the average amount of projects that those companies do, then a percentage of where we can add value to, and then an estimation of the number of companies that we target for.
And in terms of the next markets that you think you can expand to?
Yeah, I think, as already mentioned, some of the competitors are focusing on the financial sector. So that is something we a little bit want to avoid. We also see the healthcare sector as really an interesting one, not only because it's really interesting now in COVID times, but also, yeah, we are really an organization that want to add value for society. So that's why we challenge this social privacy dilemma. And we see that there's also, in terms of adding social value in healthcare, that's also one of the reasons why we want to go for that market. So I think that's let's say the next step. The focus is going to be the consulting market, and that's like our second ambition in terms of priority.
All right, thank you so much, Wim Kees, for the presentation, and judges for your questions. I kindly ask you to stop sharing your screens and audio so that we can move on to the second pitch, specifically by Danielle Ralik from Ancora. And there she is.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. I'll just get up and running. Okay, so hi, everyone. I'm Danielle, the CEO and CTO of Ancora AI, and I'm really excited today to share our solution in the space of clinical research. Before we jump in, I just want to share some of the collective experiences we've heard about participating in this world. So let's begin with the patient. So imagine you've just been diagnosed with cancer. You'll likely begin to research your disease and the treatment options. After all, you don't have that much time with your doctor to answer all your questions, and your next appointment might be quite far out. Will you hear of a trial? Do you even know what trials are? Unfortunately, only 1 in 5 patients even hear about trials as an option from their doctor. But maybe your research leads you to trials. But how do you begin to decipher this information? And what are you even looking for? And now if we imagine we're a physician, we have many patients with only 10 minutes with each. Unless there's a suitable trial in your center, you have to do onerous research for each patient to try to find trial options. I mean, you believe in trials, but you just don't have the time to do this kind of research. Now, these are the two critical stakeholder groups to make clinical research happen. So doctors and patients alike are struggling to access clinical trial information. And this is only getting worse as trial complexity increases. And that's considering trends like personalized medicine. And for patients, not having access to trials could mean not having access to potentially life-saving treatments. So how do we bring doctors and patients closer to clinical trials? So that way we can find the best treatment options for our patients and we can accelerate trials and new treatments. Well, we believe the answer is technology. So we've been working on developing Ancora, which is a platform that works to better connect the key stakeholders within clinical research. So today we have a clinical trial ecosystem that's fragmented and difficult to access, meaning patients and trials are using multiple technologies. And so we envision Ancora as the glue that seamlessly connects these services using technology. And with this, we can kind of create with Ancora a one-stop shop for patients to participate in clinical research. So to date, we've been focusing on the first step of the clinical research journey, which is to connect patients and doctors to clinical trials. So to do this, we've been working on our AI models, which work to ingest, restructure, and harmonize clinical trial information to make it searchable for patients and doctors. So in essence, we're using AI to help us quickly scale to new indications, automate the trial search process, and also improve accessibility to trial information. So we launched our patient-facing trial search application in March of this year, and with initial functionality that includes an online trial search. It also has trial outreach support and automated notifications every week for new trials a patient may be eligible for. We currently support 12 oncology indications and COVID trials in 3 languages. And so to acquire and access patients, we work closely with patient advocacy groups to firstly raise awareness, but also to educate and empower patients to consider clinical research. So far, we have partnerships with over 20 oncology patient advocacy groups. So our goal is to grow our user base, so that way we can become the go-to platform for patients to access clinical trials and then to seamlessly support them on their clinical trial journey thereafter. So in summary, Ancora offers 1, the technology platform that enables integration across clinical trial services, 2, NLP as a translator between patients and trials, and 3, a one-stop shop for patients. So with this, we envision 2 revenue streams. So one is that we are a patient trial connector. So sponsors and CROs pay a volume-based subscription fee to access Ancora's patient pool who have consented and are interested in trials. So with this, we can increase recruitment speed, and we also offer a broader and more diverse patient pool. And then secondly, we can also offer patient trial services integration. So sponsors and CROs pay per service, per trial fee to use Ancora's technologies. So with this, we can bring efficiency to the trial process, and we can also improve the patient experience. And just quickly, a little bit about us. So we're a team of 3 diverse and complementary co-founders. So Emily is our operations lead, a PhD in neuroscience, and her background's in building startups and patient-facing applications. Luca is our medical marketing lead, PhD in medical genetics, and his background's in building go-to-market models, and he also helps us to scientifically validate our solution. And I'm the technical founder, and my background is in designing and implementing business intelligence solutions for 7 of the top pharma. We've known each other for over 5 years and recently came together to see if we could make healthcare better for everyone through the use of technology. So I'd like to thank you for your time and, of course, invite you to visit Ancora AI, our free patient-facing page.
Thank you so much, Danielle. We have already our 4 judges coming to the stage with questions. Go ahead, Matthew.
That's amazing. I'm first off mute today. I'll ask my question. Daniel, thank you. Is there a vetting process behind understanding that the trials that are coming in? I'd love to understand the sort of the ethical considerations of which trials can be visible through your platform. How does that work?
I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'll try to summarize quickly. So firstly, it's that we want to be the unbiased kind of trial platform for patients. We've seen pharma attempt to do this, or kind of niche providers, and they're usually getting paid from the trial sponsor as well. So they're not, I mean, in our opinion at least, serving the interest of patients, which is that maybe it is the small startup biotech that has the best option for you and not the one that's paying for the nice digital dollars, recruitment dollars to get to you. So with that in mind, we look at the entire universe of clinical trial information. Unfortunately, we just have clinicaltrials.gov, and by just, I mean it is one of the biggest databases of clinical trial information. But that is our kind of starting point. And then for patients, we look to only, as they kind of answer a conversational questionnaire, we look to only exclude trials from their kind of final results if we're quite sure that they are not eligible. So we look at it as a way of kind of putting away trials that are a definite no, and maybe being a little more open just in case there could be some flexibility on the trial, or we're not quite convinced we understood the criteria correctly, because the eligibility criteria is also nice and complex.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go with Stephanie.
Sure, yeah, and I'm going to be a little bit cheeky because I have two questions in one, if that's allowed. First question is, how do you match kind of like what are rare diseases, right, with geographic locations? So you have to really do micro optimizations, and there's not like a lot of people that have a rare disease. So how do you go about that? And second, do you have any success stories already on the back of this? I'm not sure whether you've launched the platform in full already.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so the first one, with more rare diseases, that's where the work with patient advocacy groups are really helpful. That's a really easy way to go and reach kind of their user base and let them know that there may be trials out there. I think for this group, this is where I mentioned we have 3 pieces of functionality. Our automated notifications are very helpful because, of course, if it's rare disease, we don't have a new treatment being investigated every month. So kind of logging on and saying like, yes, I'm interested. And since we can process the information, we refresh our database every week, we can help you stay on top of these trials. And traditionally, you'd kind of be stuck refreshing or looking at clinicaltrials.gov in your spare time, which is not a great use of time. So that's one way to help them out. Geographical considerations are huge. We don't help with the trial site design, so we're not helping sponsors say, here where you should put your sites or anything like that. But we do try to also connect patients to some services that trials offer. So especially if it's rare disease, they know that they can't possibly put sites where every rare disease patient is. So there is typically support in terms of travel and getting that paid for, and just some support with getting you to the site. So we're trying to also kind of link in more of that information to help empower patients to actually participate in trials, knowing that there could be some assistance. So there's a lot around rare disease for sure. And then with our success story, actually a lot of them have been, or we just launched, so it's not actually a lot, but a few that we're most excited about have been actually with the COVID trials in terms of the vaccine. So that we launched in March, with anyone in Europe knowing that was not a great time to launch for anything probably, but supporting oncology trials certainly was one of them. So all those trials went dead, and as we were looking at the database, and we try to kind of QA every week with the refresh as well, we just saw clinical trials for COVIDs exploding. And that's where like, okay, we wanted to test the scalability of our model, so that was a good way to do it. But then we added COVID, and we had quite a few requests for the vaccine in the US and in Europe. So we were quite excited to get a few people on those trials.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very quick question. You mentioned, I think you were looking to train the machine learning models and so forth on essentially looking for them to automatically ingest the articles and tag them along. What are the data sources available for this publicly? Usually tagged already in public websites. Is that the case? Or?
Yeah, we've had quite some fun there. With clinicaltrials.gov, that's our main source for sure. With that, the section that we focus on is where they describe what the trial is, and then the eligibility criteria, which is a giant unstructured text field to the point of inclusion exclusion isn't even parsed out, and that's kind of our first step, is just trying to make sense of that field. So we use that information. It is public. We are looking to append that and add European data sources as well. And then on top of that, we are looking to also extend the information to add more information on genetic mutations and how they're being evaluated for treatments. And this is towards that trend of personalized medicine. And it's more for our physician search platform, where if you are interested in that research, we want to provide those resources as well. But for training it, I'd say it's pretty horrific. And I mean, no one
data labeling of sepsis.
Yeah, like no one is writing trials for people to actually read it. So that's kind of your starting point. And then, yeah, it's like shorthand and it's new treatments. So we're investigating new things and everyone comes up with like a new acronym and there's no standard of how we talk about it. So we tried, you know, standard ontologies like SNOMED, MetaMap, and all of them have just like failed us. So we had to be a little bit more creative in how we use those ontologies. And I think with some of the advances in NLP, we're pretty excited about some new ideas for like word embeddings.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think Ravit wanted to ask a question, but she's having a bit of technical difficulties, so we would have to move on. Thank you so much, Danielle, for your pitch. Okay. Let's move on to the third startup, represented today by Harold Smeeman, and the startup is called LaLaLand. Harold, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Let me share screen. Okay, good afternoon. I'm Harold Smeeman from LaLaLand, a startup based in Amsterdam. Alexandra, may I ask you, when you shop online for your fashion, can you mention any brand you are using to shop online?
Oh God, putting me on the spot. And other stories? Maybe?
Yeah, so when you're going online shopping e-commerce for fashion, can you mention any brand you are visiting?
You mean a website or a fashion brand?
A website from a brand?
Let's go with the obvious, Zalando.
Zalando. Okay, let's take Zalando as an example. So when you're visiting Zalando, probably what you will see is nothing what looks like yourself. So my co-founder, Michael, he is from Zimbabwe, and for myself, I'm a plus-size person. When you go online shopping with Zalando or being this with another brand, most of the times you see a model being shown which is nothing looking like yourself. Most of the time, this is a young girl in the 25, 30 years old, or a young man, Caucasians, but nothing looks like the persons we are ourselves. So most of the brands will think that we all look like the Kardashians, or that all men are having six packs. But of course, the reality is that we look nothing like the models company currently use. Because the skin color, that's only one element which is resembling how the model could look like. Or the body size, that's also just one thing. Most of the times, models are being presented just in a size 34, 36. Or the age, like most of the time you only see younger models being shown. So why are brands not displaying models which is really looking like the way how we look ourselves? So what we saw is that in the current process of making photos, it's quite complicated. A brand who is a fashion brand who's doing a collection, they have to book a studio, they have to book a photographer, hairstylist, etc. So most of the time they just choose for one or two models for their new collection and showing this online. But now we strongly believe it's time to embrace diversity and inclusion. Let's stop selling a dream and start selling a reality. And here is where LaLaLand comes in. We are creating digital humans in all kinds of ethnicities, in all kinds of sizes and ages, which is solving a major problem. And that is not only having one model being shown online, but there is now an opportunity that brands could have a large population of models showing a product garment. So no need anymore for human models, for photographers, for hairstylists, makeup artists, venue hiring or production cost. By the algorithm we have developed, we are capable of generating high quality full body models ourselves. So by introducing this, how could this work? You can see on your e-com site, you can choose between different skin tones, whereby the model is then changing. You can choose between different sizes, or you can choose between different ages and the model will change. So let's have a look how this will look like in reality. But the vision we are having is that at the end, you should be able to make a picture of your face, which is then that you will see yourself as the displayed model. So how this will work? a fashion brand is uploading their collection, and this could be a product garment made on a ghost mannequin where you see this floating. Then in our catalog, you can select the models you would like to use. Then the mapping is automatically done, and you can download the generated picture and you can publish this on your website, and you can repeat this all over again for your collections. So how this will work, this is an example of one of our customers in the Netherlands. It's an underwear firm called SAP. And here is where you can see you choose a model, and also you can then make changes of models for different skin tones. And this is then, you will see different models being displayed where you can see how the product garment is look like on your skin. But we have done more. It's not only that we have already generated this and that this is being used live already on by certain fashion brands like SAP, but we also have developed plus size models. And I will show you the benefits of having plus size models shown on the e-com site. It's enormously. Take into account that in the Netherlands, 60% of the women are having a size between 38 and 44, which are not being shown today online. So here, brands and online retailers are really missing the biggest portion of their customer segment. But it's not only for underwear. Here you see as well how a dress could look like on a plus size model as well. But it's not only women, it's also men we have created. But then from full bodies, we have generated all kinds of faces that's not only limited to the fashion market or online retailers selling fashion. It could be used for the eyewear market as well. Here you see examples where we only got a pack shot from the glasses, and we have generated different faces and different ethnicities for this brand, showing how the glasses will look like on the face. But also for sunglasses, another option. So you'll see that with our solution, this is not only limited for fashion, eyewear market, but think about cosmetics, for example, as well. So based on the pilots we have done and the customers which are now going live which are already live, we see that we can save up to 70% of the current product content production costs. But other benefits, which is quite enormous as well, is we have seen that brands who are using plus size models will have a 140% higher click-through rate on their e-com sites, resulting in a 15% increase in revenues. A much faster time to market, because we can do this much faster than traditional photography. But one of the other big things as well, the enormous nightmare of returns for all those brands. When you see that certain product categories are having return rates of 60 to 70%, we are now able to support them, lowering this, where we have seen that by using our solution, this has already been reduced with 10 to 15% on their current return rates. Take into account that on an annual base, 2.3 million tons of fashion is being burned or filled in landfill. So when we, with our solution, can reduce this also from not only a diversity and inclusivity perspective, but also from out of a sustainability perspective, this will help brands enormously. So how we will make our money, based on 3 different angles. This will be on a subscription based, where you can have a certain amount of images per month. This is based on on-demand pack shots, or based on the sales book catalog. So at the end, for us, diversity and inclusion is not a passing trend. It's really here, it has arrived, and it's here to stay. Thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you, Harald. Let's wait for our judges to take the stage in case they have questions. Yes, we have Matthew and Stephanie.
Hi, Harold. I'll kick us off. There was an acronym on there, 140% increased CTR around the customer engagement. I'm not familiar with that acronym. Could you just break that out for me?
Yeah, this is the click-through rate.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
That's awesome. Yeah, amazing kind of bottom line affecting changes this could come in. I will yield my time. I've got a follow-up question, but I'll yield to you, Stephanie.
Perfect. Thank you, Harold. Was a very inspiring pitch, especially around the ROI kind of showcases that you provided in support of that. One of my question was actually what made you think about the idea for La La Land, and why is your team uniquely posed to capture the entire market with your tech?
Yeah, good question. Now, so what I was mentioning, we the three co-founders, Michael coming from Zimbabwe, myself from the Netherlands, being a plus-size person, and the other co-founder, Ugnes from Lithuania. We are not the typical persons being shown online. And Michael and Ugnes, they were studying machine learning, and there we came up with this idea: hey, let's target the fashion market to solve this problem, because we were recognizing it ourselves, and also the sister for Michael was seeing this as well, like, hey, when I'm a darker skinned person, I don't see myself represented online, and for myself as well, like, it's nice to see all those men with six packs, but this is absolutely nothing how I'm looking myself, and each time it's let's say a big challenge how the products will look like, or if it will fit my body. Secondly, on your question, what makes us unique? We are unique because we are the only one worldwide who are creating full body models. There are creating faces. There are more of them who will be able to do so. But creating full body models in different sizes, different ethnicities, that's really where we are unique from this perspective.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have time for another question?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Perfect. How much of this is built and ready, and how much of this is still to be developed?
This is ready. This is built and this is ready. So for the women's market, we have the models ready in the sizes, different ethnicities. We are now developing them from an age perspective. The men's market, we have planned this for 2021. We have already created the first models from out of a couple of experiments. But for the women's market, we are already live. So the customer, which I'm allowed to also to mention, SAP, the underwear firm in the Netherlands, when you visit their website, you will see our models coming up there. And there are other brands as well, which are now piloting this. Or there's one big online retailer, compare this with the Macy's of the Netherlands. They are doing proof of concepts for several categories with our model. So it's really live and available.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I guess the other judges don't have any questions. So thank you so much, Harold, for your presentation.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Let's move on to the fourth pitch by Jason Behrman from Zetane Systems.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jason.
I'm just going to turn on my light.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Pardon me. Does everything look good? Hello?
Personally, I don't see your screen being shared anymore. Maybe you can...
Excuse me. Let's see. Let's share my screen.
Just hang around here to make sure it's working correctly.
It's good. Now you see it, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, hi, everybody. So I would like for you to meet Julie. Julie is a typical data scientist in a tech firm, and she's having a terrible week. For days, she's trying to figure out how some project she's working on for the agriculture sector is not working. And she's going through pages upon pages upon pages of abstract computer code, and she can't figure out to this day whether it's the data that's causing the problem or her model. Well, these project delays understandably have her manager a bit unhappy. And not only that, they're desperately trying to get expertise from the agriculture sector to contribute to the project so that they can make like a really solid solution. But the project is so abstract that these people can't even really contribute to it. So that's just exacerbating project delays. As you can see by the size of the frown on this client, she is not happy. And so not only that, she does not really understand like what exactly is this AI solution that they will be delivering and how exactly will it fit into her current business. So these problems are not due to the professionals, but is due to the tools that we use to build AI for real world applications. So the AI was only recently commercialized. So all the tools to date that we use are pretty much focused for the development of theoretical research conducted within academic institutions like this. So that said, it has a tendency to focus on computer code that is very abstract, that only people with specialized expertise, namely higher degrees in computer science and engineering, can understand. And it's built for inquisitive kind of research applications. So you don't exactly know where you're going. It's not built for like a defined project that has to have a defined end and an end time. So in other words, the tools that we use today are not built for a business context where you have to have diverse professionals, including non-technical professionals in project management and business development and marketing contribute to a project, as well as domain experts. It's also not developed to have like a solution integrated within like an industrial process that could be quite complex that requires like a dashboard or a control center, and also the abilities to thoroughly vet a solution before you introduce it into an industrial process to make sure that it's safe and it works as expected. So it's time for a change if we really want to introduce AI broadly into business and industry. So we need something that will present the technology in a way that is way less abstract and more intuitive, move away from theoretical developments of the technology to efficient, project-oriented development of real-world applications of AI, and to move away from the requirement for you to have like exclusive kind of expertise to a platform where diverse people can come together and cooperate to really build cutting-edge AI solutions. So what is our solution? We present here today Zetane, the Zetane engine. We develop software that provides a digital work environment that in 3D that's expansive, where you can display, analyze, and manipulate your data sets, your model, as well as its outputs. It lets you understand the full process of your data. So the whole processing of it, how it looks, how it is being analyzed and transformed as it progresses through your model, and the outputs that it makes. So this visual intuitive interface for machine learning projects streamlines the optimization and debugging of the project. So it makes common tasks in AI development way shorter. We also provide a whole slew of popular tools to help better explain the internal workings of AI. So the ability to open up black box algorithms and peer inside and gain a fundamental understanding of how they work. We also provide like interface and tools that make it much easier for you to collaborate with non-technical experts as well as domain experts in a given field, such as doctors or other experts in agriculture. Also standard is the ability to generate control centers, simulations, and prototypes of a system. So you could integrate an AI solution with greater ease and also thoroughly vet how it's going to work before deployment. So our solution integrates well into current workflows in AI and machine learning. So you get to keep your Python code, you get to keep using all your popular platforms that you love. That's no problem. So our solution is like technically industry agnostic, so it could work in any kind of application of AI in business and industry. You could work with diverse data and models, so projects that range from natural language processing to facial recognition, no problem. So how are we doing to date with the Zetane engine? Quite well. So we started generating sales this February, and thus far we have sales in the 6 figures. Our clients to date are top-notch leading companies in fields such as defense, biomedical research, software, and infrastructure. We have bootstrapped our startup 100%, and we've received support and funding of nearly $1 million. That's non-dilutive funding from these stellar organizations. Our initial team of 3 co-founders and employee number 1 has since almost doubled in the past 6 months, and then tripled. And right now we have acquired a leadership role in promoting global industrial standards for AI. So like I mentioned, commercial applications of AI are really recent, so there's very few industrial standards for the technology, which kind of makes piecing together a bunch of solutions very difficult because they all speak a different language. Well, we incorporated within the Zetane engine the Onyx open standard for machine learning algorithms, which is provided by the Linux Foundation. And that solves a lot of the problems with international standards. And this community that is promoting this initiative puts us in the same ranks as like some of the top technology companies in the world, such as IBM, Microsoft, and Amazon. So what's coming down in the pipeline at Zetane? Well, a lot. So I encourage you to go to our website and sign up for our email newsletter. So we will soon announce a major investment from Investissement Québec, where we are collaborating with a major corporation in defense to introduce the AI technology of predictive maintenance into Quebec industry. We are going to become a certified software supplier for NVIDIA clients and NVIDIA projects, NVIDIA being a leading producer of high-performance computing hardware. We just patented a unique mathematical language that is central to our company. And we just was awarded a $1.5 million grant along with a major corporation and the University of Montreal to introduce experimental applications of AI into the real world context of autonomous trains. So let's take just like a bigger picture kind of view of what is going on here with this Zetane software, and especially in terms of like our abilities to democratize and make technology more inclusive. Let's take a historical look back. Remember when like computers first came out? The interface was this DOS, but it was only like able to really hit mainstream where personal computers like really took off was when we developed this intuitive, clickable, visual interface from Microsoft or a Mac operating system. This is how we want you to see the potential of Zetane, where you could take abstract Python representations of AI technology and produce something that is very clickable, welcoming, understandable, and something that could scale with ease. So with that being said, we think that this is quite successful thus far, and we're just going to keep improving on this path that we're walking down. And I'm going to recount like a story here where our CTO describes to us how he uses Zetane to teach his young son about the fundamentals of artificial intelligence. And he says now, using Zetane, his young son has a fundamental understanding of what artificial neural networks are. That's great. And this represents like our broader mission at Zetane, which is to democratize AI. AI is slated to be one of the most disruptive technologies that's really coming into our society. It will be as disruptive as some people say as the internet or as electricity. With that being said, we need to have everybody in society, we have got to give them like the opportunity to contribute to the technology, understand it, and make their mark on it to ensure that nobody is left behind as this wave of AI comes into our world. So my name is Dr. Jason Behrman. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Zetane Systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jason. This was really an impressive pitch, and I really appreciated the joke with the masks in the beginning. It's a little bit of...
She was frowning.
All right, we have a question from Jack.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for the presentation. I enjoyed a joke with a bubble sword at the beginning, which is kind of cute in Python. I don't know if anybody else got that. Hey, is there anything you dropped off?
Yeah, I think we lost Jason.
Oh, no.
Something happened. Okay, here's back.
All right.
I don't know what happened.
Hey, can you hear me? You all right? You good?
I can hear you very well.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was saying I enjoyed the joke with the bubble sword at the beginning. That was funny. I had a quick question regarding sort of you mentioned XAI in there, because I spent a bit of time looking at this stuff as well. Is my understanding is that your platform mostly works with graphics or visualizable machine learning inputs and outputs? Is that kind of right? So like 3D point clouds and images and stuff like that. Is that tend to be the case where your platform is mostly used, or not necessarily? Could they be used for just numbers and data?
Not exclusively, but that's what we do best. Because of the visual interface, working with video data and image data is incredible. It's just, it's another world experience. But we are rapidly developing more applications related to natural language processing, for example. And you could visualize equally well data sets and CSV files, for example, in a 3D visual format as well.
Got it. I was interested in learning a little bit more about your explainability features, if it's okay. I've read some stuff on Google, obviously, and I still think we invest in a company that does sort of similar to what you do, not for graphics, but pure like numeric data for financial services. And like the most cutting edge sort of tech in this space is still fairly feature attribution driven, in that sense that, you know, you drag a little bar across, you see what's changed, and this part of the image heats up and is red, and you go, okay, that makes it look like a dog or something, or a cat or something like that, right? At this part, that's sort of like the coolest I've seen, and sort of looks like what is cutting edge today. What is your approach to this space? Is it something similar, or is it something a bit different?
Similar and unique. So I'll start with the similar. So you can execute explainable AI assessments with one click using a whole host of like over a dozen, I believe now, the most popular explainable AI Python libraries, and also some of the most popular applications of explainable AI in the Keras platform, for example. So like all those tools that are quite common, they're like embedded within the software. And so you could just access them like right away without having to code stuff. But we're going way, way further. I did not have the opportunity to explain like just how much detail you can get with the visual interface that we've developed. So you could like go into all of your models and see all the detailed metrics for every single component of it, for every single tensor, every single node. Now, this can look a little bit overwhelming, but we present it in a way that shows like patterns and colors and shapes. And with all this information presented in this form, we are now in the process of developing tools where we could use those patterns as kind of like a fingerprint to develop even better, more explainable tools for AI, because you have access to all that information in a way that is not like so abstract, like just like lines upon lines upon lines of code.
Got it. And then I guess the output of, let's say, your vision is still, which is good, I think, fundamentally, like, for example, a visualization for the human person, the user, to look at it and say, okay, these couple of pixels had an edge in there, does it detect by this set of subneurons or whatever, and then map it out across and say, okay, this is a transition of the logic visually. You're still relying on the human fundamentally to interpret that, I guess, right?
Yeah, I could give you one example of a great project that we were working on right now. It was related to COVID-19, and one of our data scientists, Mina, she was working on chest scans, X-ray scans of people with and without COVID, and she was trying to develop models for diagnostics. And she was able, using Zetane, to identify early on that there was a fundamental problem with the data set, because there was a little label on the top left corner on a lot of the chest X-rays. And this is like a problem that's been described in the literature before, of like how it like biased whole data sets and made like faulty models. So that kind of like visual element coupled with the visual XAI libraries, she was able to identify right away from the project, like, okay, there's a problem here and that's what it is. I'm going to fix it and I'm going to save days upon days of work.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Question from Matthew.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, Jason. I'll jump in. Credit to Jack's Python skills. Mine are nowhere near that advanced. I can just about hello world. So that joke was completely lost on me. In terms of the ideal customer for this, I mean, we've tapped into the persona a bit in the use case, which is great. Again, is there an industry or is there a specific customer that you are building this, very much for front of mind?
We are not targeting one vertical per se, because we do not want to exclude them. But I mean, we're a startup, so you have to focus your resources, right? Okay, so industries where this visual intuitive interface really, really knocks the ball out of the park is in biomedical, for reasons like I just described with like the chest x-rays. And also you saw some examples of projects we were completing with the National Research Council of Canada and other biomedical research laboratories there. It works very well in those contexts, especially because it enables clinicians, which have a tendency to be very visual, especially when making a diagnosis, to contribute to AI projects in the biomedical sphere. We do a lot of work in like major transport, like aviation and autonomous trains. We find that our solution works extremely well there. And this is one of the reasons why we apply for those grants, like I described. And we were awarded those grants because our solution seems to really make a strong impact of applying theoretical applications of AI in that form of autonomous transport. And another general application that we find is that where the software works particularly well is in inventory prediction and inventory management for firms, or predictive maintenance. So being able to predict when mechanical failure is likely to happen in the near future in large fleets of heavy duty vehicles in defense or mining, for example.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you both. Thank you, Jason, for the pitch. Thank you, Matt. Let's move on to the final pitch. Last but not least, Valerie Lasry from Neurologics is going to be finishing up our Cybershark pitch competition.
All right.
Hi, Valerie.
Hi there.
Floor.
Right, hold on. Okay, everybody can see? I guess that's a yes. All right. Okay, so let's talk about Neurologics. Now, we at Neurologics have basically found a way to leverage the power of the smart device in order to improve the health and the quality of life for everybody. Now, you know that the way that we look at healthcare today has changed dramatically over the last decade, especially so with this pandemic this year, with a lot of confinements and a lot of scared people visiting medical centers, etc. So we see that smartphones and devices have actually got built-in cutting-edge technologies that allow us to manage our lives a lot better, simplify our daily actions, and also they allow us, to monitor our sleep, activities, workouts. However, despite these capabilities, when it comes to monitoring your health vitals, one still needs to have these expensive gadgets or cumbersome medical devices, so it's not really accessible to most people. So a lot of the diseases like hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and other diseases or mental health diseases affect millions of people worldwide, and still they are not being detected on time and nor treated, and also have the capability of being reversed. So at Neurologics, we have leveraged the power of the smart device, and through a mere 30-second facial scan, we're able to scan the key vitals of your health and unlock the multitude of markers which give you an insight to your health. So after this session, I would invite you to download on your App Store, Google Play Store, our Ancora Wellness app. You will see that it does a 30-second scan, and you will get your heart rate, respiration rate, your blood pressure, many different health assessment, exactly like I'm showing you here. It's really the first world app allowing for medical grade accuracy of your blood pressure, as well as additional health vitals. And we are also releasing in Q1 of 2021 the blood biomarkers. That means in the same 30-second scan, you will also get the level of the A1C, which is the glucose level of cholesterol, and the hemoglobin level. And then adding to that, we will also elaborate on the mental health. That means we give you the stress level index. We'll also give you whether you may be suffering from anxiety or depression, as well as the risks associated with diabetes type 1 and type 2. Now, besides the capabilities that we have of our application, which is actually capabilities that you can integrate into your own desktop or your mobile applications, We also have the dashboard, which we give to enterprise, which gives a very detailed analysis of in real time of the vitals of your patient, for example, or an overall collective of data according to the regions, to the cities, to the countries where you are operating your application. And then also we have a little bit more sophisticated products that give you a second-by-second assessment of the health vitals, which can be used in different use cases. We have a new product that's coming out, the Heart Magic Mirror, which has also the thermal sensor as well as the different cameras we need to also get your oxygen saturation. So you can see that this tablet, when you put it into a premises, it can be used for triage, the identity verifications, as well as the temperature and your vital scans, all in the same 30 seconds. So this could eventually be used also for home device or for entering the airport, your offices, for triage in certain clinics and facilities. So there's really multiple uses for it. It's not only about the smart device that is handheld, but it's also as a smart device which can be put in a fixed location. Just to make it quick, I'm also showing you that you can do a second-by-second analysis of your physiological and psychological state. Now, let's get into how it actually works. We are using a technique called transdermal optical imaging, which is basically AI algorithms as well as signal processing to understand what's going on, the blood flow circulation underneath your skin. All of us have translucent skin, no matter what the skin color is. And when we take out that information, we send it up to the cloud. As you can see here, we process the information in the cloud. We have a nice name for it, the DeepAffects, and then we send back the results to your UI as well as to the dashboard for enterprise solution. And in 30 seconds, this information will then be transmitted in real time when it comes to sharing with the physician, etc. Accuracy, we've done all our studies of about 20,000 individuals across the hospitals based in Toronto, Canada, as well as in Guangzhou, China. And we've got all the detailed accuracy level. We've got publications in the various journals, as well as independent clinical study of our blood pressure, which is really the holy grail of our solution. And we've got 8 different patents that have been granted, 6 that are pending. Now, according to our sectors, the digital health is really the common denominator, but we are already integrated in many different telemedicine applications, remote monitoring of vitals for the elderly, also for the sick patients. We have insurance sectors that are looking at our solution not only for the telemedicine capabilities, but also for dynamic underwriting. We also have corporate programs, wellness programs for the employees. The automotive, the next generation of the automotive is going to be able to assess your health while you're driving, and God forbid that you have a stroke or are going to have a heart attack. There may be, even send in a little package or drone ambulance to come to the rescue. You also have consumer research. So there's many, many different use cases and sectors. And this is just some of the examples of some of the current customers that have integrated the capabilities of doing the vital scans remotely and then assessing whether you need, to maybe, if it's a lifestyle or wellness application, consult with a doctor, or maybe change your lifestyle so that you can improve on your vitals. In the case of telemedicine applications, you actually allow the physician to do a virtual consultation with a patient. You're allowing for proximity between the patient and the doctor, and then you can get onto a consultation with the vital information. You also use the similar tablets or magic mirror in terms of the triage, access or entry denial. And for insurance companies, for example, they also want to do underwriting, dynamic underwriting, whereby they can assess the risk of an individual when you are signing up for a policy and also price it. So these are just some of the use cases that I'm showing you. And that is it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Valerie. Stephanie is coming on stage with the first question.
Hi, Valerie. Thank you so much. Very impressive technology. Not something I've ever seen before, so kudos to that. But yeah, one of the questions that then springs to mind with so many use cases and applications and potentially being a breakthrough, Have you thought about the kind of negative side effects that might arise from using this technology? For example, doctors maybe being overburdened if there are some glitches in the software, but also things around data sharing. How do you think about, or potentially, my employer wants me to check every day whether I'm already up to scratch? What are some of the things you have thought about that could?
You're frozen. Okay, Stephanie's frozen, but I'm hoping, do you think that she can hear me? Stephanie, you're back?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
I'm back.
So let me just point out that, first of all, our solution is GDPR compliant, so your data is protected. That's the one thing. In fact, we have a server, a cloud server in Frankfurt, Germany for the whole of Europe. Now, in terms of the information, when you integrate into a telemedicine application, for example, or remote monitoring of vital solution, you're actually giving the information to the doctor to assess the situation. When you're going to talk to your doctor over video consultation, there's not much he can do for you if you tell him that you have, chest pains or shortness of breath, etc. He really needs to examine you. By giving him that basic information, it can just allow the physician to actually make an assessment as to whether he should send you to do more elaborate testing, x-rays, etc., or maybe if the medication that you're taking for your blood pressure may not be working. You're giving some kind of elements of information to the doctor in a remote manner. This is not something that you have been able to do. So we have not encountered any negative feedback. On the contrary, I mean, think of the whole world. You know that the population is growing, people are getting older. There are people that are still in many countries in remote villages and that have no access to doctors or physicians unless they travel miles and miles away to get a doctor. If you can put that capability into their hands, whether it's of a smart device or a kiosk in a community center that allows them to just scan the vitals in 30 seconds, get information, and then get onto a call with a physician or get a more insight as to what needs to be done next, you're really helping people to treat the symptoms before they become really sick. So no negative feedback for now across the board. On the contrary, we see that it's extremely of great interest, and I'm talking about the different sectors because it seems like the remote scan, the monitoring of vitals over a simple smart device is something that many people are eager to get onto their own application or application. Or framework.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I have one quick question. I think you're presenting actually. It's very, very cool stuff. I also never seen anything like this before.
I really want you to download. I mean, on a personal, you should all download the Ancora app, and that way you will understand how it works in 30 seconds, and we'll understand the capabilities that we can integrate into any type of platform or application.
I had a quick question regarding the regulations in this space, especially around data and machine learning and so forth. Because I think in some cases, especially for medical imaging data, let's say a company like Oaken, for example, in the US, French US, they're basically forced to store most of their medical imaging and the data associated with it on the actual devices themselves because they're not allowed to share that or centralize that or even bring it potentially offshore in another data center. Does the image that you collect count as that in such from a regulation perspective? Or in that case, how do you deal with the data transference and this data?
So it's important for you to know that when we do the scan of the face, your device, the device that is being used, is only doing the scan of the face. Everything is being done on the cloud engine, all right? And that's important. The whole brain, the whole secret sauce is in the cloud, and that is where the results are being, the blood flow results are being calculated, and then you only send back the results to the UI, to the basic smartphone or to the dashboard. So in terms of the data, everything is being processed on the cloud. The device, can be a simple $100 device with a 30 frame per second camera, front end facing. So it's like the devices that have been manufactured the last 4 or 5 years. And then we only need that to extract the small little facial video that we take. That's it. Nothing is on the device.
Okay, so no meaningful I guess no meaning for medical records or
No,
conclusions
absolutely not.
or data is
Absolutely
on
not.
the cloud.
Everything is on the cloud and it's very well protected. Each enterprise will have their org on the cloud with only them having access to that. So yeah, totally protected.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, a question from Matthew.
Hey.
I just want to make sure I understood this correctly, the sort of visual technology of this. So through a visual scan of my face, it's picking up all of these things. I don't need to put my thumb on a sensor.
Nope, just your face.
Mind-blowing.
That's right. And this is why I invited you to download it and to test it. And you will see the only thing that we need, because we're using the AI models and signal processing, we need to have adequate light. All right. In fact, you will see that you have a star system when you open the app. It'll have 5 stars. It's better for you to have 5, but even 4, because it just means that you have enough light around your face for us to capture the vitals. In 30 seconds, then the measurement is done, it's sent to the cloud, and then you get the results.
And just a quick follow.
Oh, you froze.
What conditions or what tests will that enable as of today?
Today, I showed you, you have the blood pressure. You don't need to go out, and buy any expensive cuffs out there. Use your smartphone. You get your blood pressure, you get your heart rate, respiration rate, heart rate variability, the risks associated with a person getting a cardiac arrest, a stroke. You have the BMI, even the facial skin for us girls. We like to see how our skin looks like. You have that. You have the waist to height conference. And now what we're adding in Q1 is also in the same 30-second scan, we're adding the level of the glucose as well as hemoglobin and cholesterol. And then we are going to also add to the mental stress level, we're going to add indicators as to whether the person may be suffering from anxiety or depression, as well as the diabetes risk. So that means that for Q1, Q2 of next year, we will add all of those additional features within the same 30-second scan. So, all these capabilities are available to you right now, on a wellness app called Ancora, or can be integrated with any type of applications or platform whereby you need to scan those vitals and get that information.
How will you monetize this, Valerie?
So we sell, it's a SaaS solution. We obviously sell our SDK as well as a licensing agreement, which usually is priced per batch of measurements or scans, as you call it, or you can have it on a user subscription model, which is monthly or yearly. Pretty simple, but it's a SaaS-based model.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. I guess we can wrap it up. Thank you so much, Valerie, for the final pitch in Cybershark pitch competition. And thank you, judges. Now, what's going to happen next is that all of the judges are going to be moving to another room to deliberate and decide on the winner. And what they're going to be discussing is the following criteria: the extent to which the solution solves a real-world problem and is making advancements in its field, the ingenuity of the solution, how novel is the approach, and how have the team approached this differently, and finally, the impact of the solution on the market that it serves. Will this solution be a game changer? And I'd like to remind everyone that the competition is going to receive a whole bundle of support services, such as a $5,000 Oracle Cloud credit and marketing support from Inspired Minds. Now is the time, actually, to take on some questions from the audience, and I would like to invite all of our pitchers on stage with me, so that in case there are questions from the audience, they can ask. They can answer, directly. All right. So, dear audience, please pop your questions in the chat while the jury picks a winner. I actually maybe can start off with my question for the startups. How has this year been for you and for your business? to bring up the elephant in the room, let's say. If anybody wants to jump in.
No one yet. Now, so then I will start. So for La La Land, it has been really exciting and challenging times, and we started with a small team, and we find a lot of people over the past months who wanted to join, and it's amazing to see with this young team all kinds of diverse people as well, how customers are reacting, how consumers are reacting. So you really see you're contributing to solve a problem, and that's quite nice. What is rewarding of this whole work.
Gotcha. Anybody else?
We've been rather
We're calling in today from Amsterdam, Zurich, and Canada, from what I understand. So go ahead, Jay.
We've been rather fortunate at Zetane. We're very lucky in that aspect, but 2020 has been a great breakout year for us. So we've been working on this project since about 2018. We got our first employee in 2019, and 2020 was where we secured a lot of grants, a lot of high-profile clients. And despite all odds with like the economic disruption from the pandemic, it's a really solid time for us, especially as a team. And we are still adjusting, but we're working really well with like this whole like work from home and remote kind of work environment. It's something that has been like so radically different and new to all of us. But given that we work in the tech sector, we're very fortunate in being able to integrate all these new tools and these new kind of like work habits with ease.
Thank you. Danielle, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. It's been emotionally very trying 2020. That's probably more of a personal note than anything else. But no, it was tough. We were looking actually at working more closely with hospitals, and every time we went to engage and kick off conversations, it was like a wave hit somewhere. They were like, hang tight, hang tight. Like we need to work on these COVID cases. So it's definitely challenged us, I'd call it that way. But I think if you can survive 2020, you can survive anything. That's my my new motto. So maybe that's my quick summary.
Valerie, Wim Kees, any additions?
Well, I must say that since we came out to the market with a game-changing solution, especially, unfortunately, because of the pandemic and because of so many people in different countries being confined on lockdown, not being able to go and visit a doctor or, get health checks. So you have an increase of about 70% in telemedicine applications across the globe. And, checking your vitals when you're on the other side of, of your screen is not something that a doctor can do so easily, because most people cannot afford and I don't have instruments to be able to relay that kind of information. So our solution has really allowed for the convenience of getting your vitals checked remotely, relaying that in real time to the physicians. And we see that across the globe, that it's not only about the health sector, but all these other sectors that all of a sudden are very interested in your health vitals to assess different situations. So I think it's been a very good year for us, and it's continuing. We see that the future is here today. Things are being done very differently than what they used to be done before.
Yeah, the health sector has definitely been affected in a
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Positive way.
Yeah.
All right, Wim Kees, any last?
Yeah, definitely. I think on the one hand, pre-COVID, we had to move a lot of times to get physical meetings. I think one of the benefits is that everything is digital now. It's a big efficiency gain, but also opens like borders, right? So before we were kind of we were really focusing on Amsterdam and the Netherlands, but now everything is digital. We can actually really cover the whole world. So I think that's a nice thing. And yeah, specifically for us, indeed, in the healthcare sector with COVID, we really noticed the privacy dilemmas in practice. So with the COVID app, everything around data sharing, where we always had the discussion, okay, do we want to have this app or do we want to protect our privacy? It's also always a discussion where we have to choose. And this really highlighted the importance of having a strong infrastructure in place to realize those solutions but in a privacy preservative way. So I think 2 things from our side to mention here.
Right, thanks. One question that I see in the chat is from Eve, probably addressed to all of you, but how do you address the mitigation of biases in your algorithms? Super important domain.
Can I start?
Yeah.
I think one of the use cases that we actually cover with synthetic data is data biases. So what we do with synthetic data is we generate a synthetic data twin, so a copy of your data set. And as mentioned, one of the benefits of having generative AI is that in case there is a bias in your data set, so for example, you have 70% males and 30% females in a situation where you expect 50-50%, so there's a bias in your data, we can actually mitigate that with generating synthetic females to get back to that equal amount. So I think that's one of the things, that the use case that we cover with synthetic data, and one of the challenges that we really see in practice with AI, having a bias in a data set that result in discrimination or other unwanted outcomes.
All right, and those who actually have to mitigate the biases in the group?
All right, I would like to comment on some strategies.
Yeah, please.
So we have different kinds of features and different strategies to help machine learning experts mitigate bias in their algorithms and their data sets. So one that you saw briefly in my presentation was the use of TSNE point cloud algorithms. So this really helps you organize vast, complicated image-based data sets, and you can start to see if they're like biased towards a color or a certain kind of other feature. So that helps you right from the beginning see if there's like fundamental problems with your data sets before beginning. Other ways to help mitigate bias is to get the subject matter experts involved in the project like we described, so they could peruse the data and the outputs from your model alongside you and see it's like, you know what, that doesn't pass the smell test, you know, that's not how it's done in medicine, or like, you know, that's just not how, you know, wood paneling is really categorized in the pulp and paper and lumber industry. And these are like ways and strategies that we employ with our software to help mitigate bias.
Great, so get the critical target audiences on board in the very beginning. Valerie or Danielle?
No. We just kind of go through information and try to restructure it. So I'd say we're on maybe like a little different perspective of that, where we're trying to find the bias actually in the criteria to try to help pharma really think about and challenge what they're putting in inclusion-exclusion criteria. So maybe a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else wants to comment on the last question? If not, then I will give you all a bit of a break until the judges make their final decision.
Can I answer Eve's question though? If that's okay.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's what I. Sorry.
Yeah. No, just because it's a really awesome question and it's something we've been focusing on. So one of our big missions is to make clinical research more accessible to everyone, and diversity has been a huge problem with trials. And if you've been following the whole COVID trial mess, you've probably heard that diversity is critical, because without it, we're not testing new treatments and vaccines that are safe and efficacious for all. So one of our big big points of our company is that we're looking at how do we reach these populations that aren't typically included, or kind of advertised to is the wrong word because it's healthcare, but in a way, advertised trials too. So how do we reach more people that are being left out of this conversation? And one aspect has been in trying to make sure we're putting the data into terms they understand. So there's kind of putting the language into normal lay language. And the second is translating it into local languages. So that way, if you're not a native English speaker, you can still access this information. But we were actually looking at supporting some trials in South Africa. And on the cultural question, it was brought up because literacy is quite low. So the person and company that we were speaking with wanted to put a more kind of pictorial interface for finding trials, which I found really cool. So, and they also like a lot more color. We're, I guess, a little bit too Europe on that one.
Okay, I also want to address her question. So, Eve, we are a Canadian company based in Toronto, Canada, and as you know, in Canada we have great cultural diversity. So all the studies are being done in the hospital and university. So we've got a diverse selection of people on which we test. We also have a company in China, which is doing tests on the Asian population. So definitely taking into account the cultural diversity, the different skin tones, the different ages. So everything has been taken into account.
Yeah, so also let me take it because Eve was mentioning this. What we are producing is all about diversity and inclusion, and the data sets we need of doing this are containing a large population of people. How we have trained our algorithm, because what you see, it's more than just photoshopping a skin tone, because that's what you see sometimes on e-com sites, that a Caucasian person has been made a darker skin to look like a different person, which doesn't work, because when you look to darker skinned people, they have different lips. People from South America have different hips. So that's all what we have taken into account, making sure that our population is not only from a skin tone perspective, but also how it's being built. We had quite a challenge with fingers and the feet, how to create this. So also here we had to do a couple of experiments in the data sets which now have been solved. So that's we're really making sure that it's fitting people recognizing themselves in the person being shown.
Thank you all.
But you're welcome, Eve.
Yeah, I think she's very much satisfied with the answers. Thank you all. I guess we're approaching the time for the judges to come back on stage. So thank you all again for your pitches and for your answers with the questions. I hope you had fun, and I wish you all good luck for whoever's gonna take the prize. All right. I then invite you to stop sharing your screens and audio, and for judges to come back. All right, I'll wait a bit for the judges to come back so that I can share the winner with them. In 2 minutes, everyone. Okay, Stephanie, Matthew, Jack, Ravit, can you please all join me on stage? Yes. Hello again. Had a nice discussion, had a nice deliberation.
That was very good.
Heated, yes, indeed. Very strong pitches we heard. Maybe one of you can insinuate who the winner is, but not say exactly who it is, and then we can drum roll.
Oh, very good. Let me try to do it. Rough description. I think enthusiasm was skyrocket high. We as judges were actually so the winner is having high enthusiasm, but I think that came through in all of the pitches. Quite frankly, we as jury had quite a bit of a discussion in the background. That's why it took a little bit longer to end up with the final winner. I think the other thing to mention it, to give it a bit of a steer, is that we were very impressed by the technology, very novel. And so, yeah, I'll leave it at that, actually. Otherwise, I give too much away.
Then, yeah, the drum roll. And the winner of Cybershark pitch competition of Inspired AI 2020 is Neurologics. And then maybe we invite actually Valerie to join us on stage as well. There we go.
Hey.
Yeah, congratulations, Valerie.
Thank you. Thank you.
You did an amazing job. So did all of the other
company.
pitches.
The company did. Yeah.
But you did stood out, quite frankly. I mean, as I said, enthusiasm, absolute novelty. I mean, I have been investing for quite a few years. Not seen. You explained very well what a huge potential market you're going after. Probably starting in healthcare, right? Digital health, but that's kind of is explained across a whole range of industries. So we can see this really becoming a world changer in that sense. Also, 2020, as we discussed, is a brilliant year to come up with this type of solution where healthcare is kind of, or your own health from a mental and a physical well-being is enormous important, and we recognize that. So yeah, and you know, you spiked everyone's curiosity. So I think you clearly deserve to call yourself a Cybershark winner here today.
Hey, thank you
so much.
Thank you. I appreciate for the opportunity. And yes, you're right. You know, our physical and mental health is very important, you know, across the globe. It doesn't matter where you're sitting, in which country, whether you have the means, whether you don't have the means, but if you can get the information, if you can take better care of your health and change certain lifestyles so that you don't end up to be sick or being treated, it'll be very helpful for everybody. And we see that, you know, across the board. It's not only in the telemedicine, but it's also remote monitoring of patients. People coming out of the hospitals, you know, elderly people, they don't know, you know, they don't always have the instruments or the people to help them to actually check their vitals. So by having something so simple that we use on our daily lives, the smartphone, a tablet, or a desktop, it can really make a big change in improving the lifestyle of the people. That's our motto, you know, for this year and forward. And we are going to be releasing incredible features, which is going to be really a game-changing on many aspects.
I think we're all very much looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to download the app. I saw you had a few good ratings on there already, but I'm sure we know, can give that a boost.
Don't look at the ratings because, you know, when it was launched originally, it was the first version. Now we've got the latest versions. So, you know, unless people populate those ratings, you will check and you will see for yourself how well it works.
Awesome.
Great. I thank you.
Any other moments of feedback from the other judges?
Congratulations. It's a great pitch.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
All right. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you. And thank you to everybody for participating. It was a tough choice with a lot of fantastic innovation and well presented ideas. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Valerie. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for Inspired Minds for the Cybershark competition. Thank you for the judges, Stephanie, Jack, Ravit, and Matthew. Thank you for Oracle for Startups for powering this event. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Enjoy the rest of the Inspired AI today and the final episode on Tuesday. And thank you so much for being with us. I'm signing off as well now. So bye.